Okay, I know I look crazy right now, but I'm about to say some crazy stuff. And honestly, I don't really care anymore. I've gotten to that point where I've reflected on myself, right? I've talked to my spirit, reflected on why I believe this, right? And why I see this the way I see this. Because to many people, it would sound crazy, but it makes sense to me why it would sound crazy, right? So I was thinking about how there's times where I get triggered, or I feel a certain type of way when people talk about how there's, certain religious people that go around saying you need Jesus, Jesus saves. Are you broken? Are you this? Are you that? Come to Jesus because Jesus will save you, right? And this initially goes into my music shit too, right? And I'm one of those persons. I grew up religious. I went to church. I believed in this. I studied with multiple different religiouses, right? To try and understand like why I didn't feel connected. I got baptized 3 times, by the way, too. So pretty much, like, I don't just believe this because I read it in a book somewhere, right? I believe this. I don't believe this. I know this, right? Because there's a difference between believing and knowing. And this is what I've just, had to like understand, learn for myself. Like, you can have a belief, but beliefs change, right? A knowing is just something that you just like, what people may call stubborn, or say that, oh yeah, that person's stubborn, they're always stuck in their ways kind of thing. But it's more so just this knowing within yourself that, you may not have the logic to it, but you have the spirit. You have the spirit of knowing, right? And this is a gift. This is a very powerful fucking gift, right? And so for me, going into the whole religious aspect of people saying you need to ask Jesus to cleanse your sins, blah, 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 blah. It's a form of a ritual too, if you want to look into that. But pretty much why I would get triggered, because getting triggers is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Getting triggered, helps you really reflect on why you're feeling a certain way, right? And for me, I would get this sense of like annoyance or just like it wasn't the best feeling. And at times I would question it. I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing, but I've come to the realization that these individuals, they're not speaking the real truth. And what I mean by that, this is where the crazy part comes in, right? What I mean by that is Jesus was put up on a pedestal, literally. He was put up on a cross and sacrificed, killed, and we worship. We worship and praise that, mourn that, whatever you want to call it, right? We idolize that. And within scripture, it talks about do not idolize any gods. There's like so many different scriptures that speak on idolization, putting people out on the pedestal. But within Jesus's message, like, I believe in Jesus, right? He's one of my spirit guides. He's Master Jesus to me. And he resembles forgiveness. He resembles many things, unconditional love. And he resembles truth, like real truth. And there's like, I don't think it's hidden as much anymore. And this is where you literally got to do your own research. Because this is what I had to do for myself to really understand. There's multiple stories about Jesus. There's multiple stories about a lot of biblical history, right? Because I'm spiritual. I'm not religious anymore. And for reasons going into this story is because Jesus was speaking about how pretty much showing the people that he was around that be more like him. Don't be him. Don't worship him. Don't put him on a pedestal. Be more like him. He sat with every different types of people. He didn't sit with just one crowd. He traveled the world. He spoke messages. He, sat with beggars. He healed the weak, right? And this is a thing we tend to forget. A lot of people that I've, just seen in my worldview, my perception, they live in a mentality of fear. And I understand why. You know, a lot of people are sheltered. A lot of people have this understanding of the world where it's broken, where it's messed up, where, you know, we're not safe, and we're waiting to go to this heavenly place. But in reality, the heavenly place is, we're already in it. God created it for us. And we have to ascend, just like Jesus did. And a lot of this is metaphorically, right? He ascended, but it's not just metaphor, it's also physically. So he went on this journey, right? He went on this journey for himself to really understand truly what his purpose was, what his mission was, and what he was meant to do. Impact culture for Christ. Pretty much impacting anybody and everybody. Not just a certain group of religious people, not just a certain group of, you know, races and ethnicities, not just, you know, a certain society status, financial status, anybody and everybody. We live in a world where there's a lot of shit that's watered down. There's a lot of shit, spiritual shit, religious shit. Like, and you got to look at all the religions to understand this. You really got to do some deep healing work. And that's initially what Jesus represents, is deep truth, deep healing. And a lot of this is connected within the Egyptian culture, the Buddhism culture, the Hinduism culture, you know, and that's what irks me. Is there's so many people just saying that they're speaking this truth. They're going around saying, this is the truth. This is what you need. When in reality, they don't know what the fuck anybody needs. They don't even know what the fuck they need. And they think they're good. Kudos to them. And this is me not judging anybody. This is just me speaking my truth. This is me just saying what I see. This is me having opinion. This is me having a perception. This is me just me being me. And that's the initial thing that goes over a lot of people's heads. Literally. Like, most people just want to have a confrontation with you. They want to argue that they're right. They want to get stuck in their ego. And this is me too. This is where the trigger comes in, where it's just like, I so passionately believe and know this within myself that it's almost like there's a part of me that just wants to tell them that they're wrong. But in reality, they're not wrong. They're just living their truth. They believe in what they believe in. And, you know, I don't agree with it. I don't see the same message that they see within Jesus. And that's okay. That's okay. I don't need to fight them. I don't need to be like, oh, you're not doing it right. But a part of me wants to do that. A part of me wants to just let loose on that person, especially when they like step into my lane. Now that I feel like is a valid right, in my opinion, to be able to say, listen, stay in your own lane. Like, I understand where you're coming from. You know, even ask questions. Mind you, I go to a Catholic school. Mind you, like, I have friends that are religious. And the ones that get it, they get it. You know, I don't need to argue with people and discuss beliefs and knowings and truth with people that are just like, you know what? You're this way and I'm this way, and that's okay, right? And that's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of diversity. That's the beauty of all these different beliefs, all this knowledge out there. Is we can have an opinion. We can see things for how we see them. And we can disagree. We don't have to agree. But we can still be friends. We can still be cool with each other, right? Yeah, it's interesting for me to, you know, reflect on this, because there's times where it's like, I believe so heavily that a lot of people are missing the point, you know, and that's why I share my messages. That's why I get on here looking like I do. And I like to get all dolled up and dressed up, but sometimes when there's just like a certain type of message that I feel like I need to speak on, and I know I will probably forget it because I like my brain runs a mile a minute, a mile a second. I really passionately in my soul and within my experience, within just a lot of things that I've endured, I believe all those things allowed me to see what I see, right? Because there comes a point where you go through a phase of arrogance, you go through a phase of just being humbled. You go through many phases within life, and sometimes you learn from those phases, and it allows you to like level up. And I'm not just speaking physically, I'm speaking spiritually. I'm speaking like there's some wisdom to it, because a lot of people look at older individuals with that they have all this wisdom, but I've learned over time it really doesn't matter how old you are. In a sense, it really doesn't. And a lot of that wisdom can come based on experience as well too. You know, there's so many different ways within life that we can learn, that we can grow, and not everybody goes through those similar ways. Not everybody has that similar upbringing. Some, you know, go through life a little bit more, what's it called, chaotic. I was gonna say faster, where it's like sometimes, you know, there's so many different names out there. It's just one of those things where everybody, I tend to notice that there's the society people, they can fit themselves into a box, a society, a norm of how they were raised, yada yada yada. And I don't like putting myself in a box. I can relate in a way to many boxes, but I don't put myself in a box because I always want to elevate. I always want to grow. I went through a phase of, you know, having certain illnesses. I went through a phase of having certain mental health issues. And it's not to say I don't have them anymore, but that phase was, you know, identifying with that mental health, identifying with this certain, you know, aspect of me. And you come to a point where it's like you choose to not identify with it. And I came to that point where it's like, okay, I have these things. I'm listening to what these doctors, these people are telling me to do, yet none of it's working. None of it's helping me. So maybe there's something more. And you get to a point where you pretty much go insane. And you really have to ask yourself. And sometimes you're just forced to ask yourself, you know, sometimes you're forced. There's no like solid, straightforward explanation to being like, oh yeah, well, one day I just sat down and I was like, fuck it. Because that's a simple way of saying it. But there's multiple times where I sat down and was like, fuck it. Multiple. And still today, there's some times where I sit down and I'm like, fuck it. But I've learned, I've reflected, I understood within these phases. It's helped me get to a new phase in my life. Phase as a new journey, a new chapter, a new insight, wisdom, more wisdom gained. I don't resonate, you know, I maybe said that I'm diagnosed with this stuff, but I don't take any medicine anymore. The medicine never helps me. I'm not religious anymore. I didn't heal by going to church, by getting baptized 3 times, by asking Jesus to save me. I, you know, put in work for myself, and I had to ask myself questions. I had to do more research. I had to dig deep within my soul and by myself, sit at home, hibernate, isolation. Jesus did that too, to really tap into something more, deeper. And not everybody will understand what that means, because initially, that's the point. You have to go on your own journey. You have to dive deep within your own self. Don't put me on a pedestal. Don't look at me like you look at Jesus or any other idol you You know, this is like goes into celebrities, right? It's like if you want to better your life, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. And I'm just a reflection. I'm just like one of those reflections, those blurred reflections that's saying, okay, there's something here. So now let me go look at myself in the mirror. Let me disconnect from this individual and let me go look in the actual mirror. Right? And I think there's this saying from the 90s. I'm a 90s kid. But there's this saying back in the day where it's, I can't remember it. But anywho, it's literally something about, wow. Yeah. But anywho, that's the point I'm trying to make. Is within Jesus' message, within my message, within just like society's worldview, there's more to the story than the outside world will tell you. And this is just a sign. This is just a glimpse of what you may resonate, what you may, connect with. And if there's like some kind of feeling, you may not have the logic to it, but if there's some kind of feeling, baby, and you're like, well, you know what? Let me do more research on, and I'm talking Bible research. I'm not talking about go read your Bible. I'm talking about look at all of the history, the culture, the stories. Meditate on it. Ask God, ask the universe, ask Jesus, ask whoever you believe in to reveal shit to you. Because initially it's right in front of our faces. We just have to open our eye. Not these damn eyes. But those eyes will blind us more than anything. We have to open our mind, our soul, our heart. Because our heart is like our second brain. And that's initially what I'm speaking on. It's like you got to forget everything that you know and kind of start new. Kind of like, what's that philosopher? Descartes. Anyways, you gotta erase the past. You gotta let go of that ego, and you really gotta tune into a higher self. Not just you, but you really got to channel something to the point where it's going to show you, it's going to give you clarity, it's going to guide you. You got to go down to that rabbit hole. You got to think like a child. You got to like really dive deep within your understanding, especially like, and if you're open to it, that's already telling you something, right? Because there's people that will just shut this down and be like, bitch, you're going to hell. And that right there is just like, you just gonna be reincarnated back to this earth and gonna have to go through it again kind of thing. But anywho, I'm done yapping. I'm done talking. I really hope this like touched somebody in a way. If you watch it or not, my name is Faefae. I go by ThatAncientArtist. I'm a music artist. I'm a singer, songwriter. I perform in San Diego. I also go to school for a double major, digital music, creative entrepreneurship. And I go to a Catholic university. And so it's super cool. I love it. Currently, I'm living in my dream. I've, worked on myself enough to get to a point of enlightenment, to believe in myself enough to do what I love and to know that I can make shit happen. And there are no limits. We create our own limits. And we may have certain beliefs, we may have certain things that hold us back, but there's always a way to look at those beliefs and barriers and break through them, because that's initially what I did. I've gone on a journey, within my life, within my past life, and I've seen things, I've discovered things, I've overcame things in a way that people would not even expect. But that's, I think, the beauty of it all, is finding beauty in the trials and tribulations and the chaos, and just knowing, having that mustard seed of faith within yourself that you're always being protected, you're always being guided, even if you don't believe it. And it's a hard thing to grasp. And for me, it took me a minute. But bitch, here I am. So if you want to know a little bit more about me, don't be afraid to reach out, comment, subscribe, check out my journey, because a lot of my journey is, here on YouTube, but it's also like I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all that. So check out my handle on Instagram, Faefae Empire, and that's Faefae Empire. And just continue to watch my journey. So appreciate y'all, love y'all. Peace.